Alright, during this video I am going to bounce back and forth between the evolution theory, the creation theory, and the Big Bang theory in explaining how they actually coincide, how we can use science to see the beauty of the works of the Creator. If there's a Creator in your life, if you believe that there's a Creator, there is evidence of this Creator, and I'll explain it based off of the Christian version of the creation, and to be honest, it's even the Muslim version of the creation and the Judaism version of the creation, where God speaks the universe into existence. And I'll start off the very first thing. Okay, so how do we define the universe, right? You look at just the word alone. Universe means one statement. But if you really want to go further and be analytical, which is how I got this information, being analytical, uni is a compound form of loan words used together to create one statement, right? So, like, for example, unicycle, it's not just the wheel, it's the pedals, it's the seat, it's everything, but it's all one unicycle. It's all one entity. All right, so let's look at it real quick. In the beginning, we'll look at it from the creation version. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is what I'm about to teach you. And it literally teaches you, right? So now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Mind was blown when I found this out. So if you look at what the universe actually consists of, it's 75% hydrogen, 23% helium, 1% oxygen, and then the rest there's carbon and there's other. What is H2O made out of? Hydrogen, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, right? Helium it's innate. It doesn't interact with any other element, chemically, not element, I don't know if that would be considered an element, any other chemical, it doesn't interact with it at all. So you have hydrogen, which interacts with other chemicals, and then you have oxygen that interacts with other chemicals. That right there tells me that the most abundant compound in the universe is water, H2O. That's just in the first 2 statements alone. What else do we know about the universe scientifically? Well, we know that it consists of time, matter, and space. Time, matter, and space, interesting enough, and there's a Christian apologist who speaks on this. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. If we wanted to create time and matter, where would we put it? We would put it in space. If we wanted to create time and space, what would it consist of? Matter. If we wanted to create matter in space, when would we put it? Time. So time, space, and matter are all reliant on each other, right? Which is the crazy thing. And what else do we know about the universe? It's constantly expanding and vibrating. We know this scientifically, right? What does that tell me? I want you to go back to Genesis 1:3, which I haven't even read yet. Probably should do that. Then God said, "Let there be light." What does that tell us about God? God speaks. He speaks things. What do? We speak. So, look at the human anatomy. Human anatomy, when we speak, when we produce speech, I'm going to read it right out of here. When we produce speech, the airstream passes between 2 vocal folds that have come together. These folds are soft and begin to vibrate due to the passing airstream. They vibrate very fast, 100 to 1,000 times per second, depending on the pitch and sound we make. So when we contemplate what we want to say, we inhale and exhale as we articulate or vibrate, apply a certain amount of pressure into the air molecules or the matter in the time and space between whoever says it and whoever receives it, or whatever receives it. So we speak, the same exact thing happens when God spoke. That's interesting. Everything's vibrating and expanding through time and space. Time, matter, and space, sorry. All right. Now, there's actually a Bible verse in Isaiah where it explains that he stretches the heavens, so he's expanding the heavens, and we can't even seem to explain why this dark matter is stretching the heavens or the cosmos. Now, you go to that, and then I'm going to refer to you real quick. We'll revisit this later, but right now I'm going to refer to you Genesis 1:26, when he creates man. This is exactly what he says. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. That right there tells me we have commonalities with God. So you put the 2 and 2 together. God speaks, we speak. The same thing happens when we speak. That's the commonality we have with God. Everything expands and vibrates after we speak, through the time, space, and matter around us. And so you have Genesis 1:3, and you look at the, I'm sorry, I keep flipping the wrong page. You look at the Big Bang Theory, you have light was the very first thing created. Well, what do you know? Genesis 1:3, then God said, let there be light. So far, we're only up to Genesis 1:3, and we can both agree on the Big Bang Theory and in the creationist theory that light was the first thing that was created. There was a beginning. We both agree on that. And the universe consists of water. Lots and lots of water. And you go in there, 9.2 billion years go by. And this is one thing I want you to conceive before we continue with this video, is what we're looking at, the way we're looking at it now. You ever watch those buds, those videos of those buds on Facebook or whatever, where you watch the entire span of a flower, the lifespan of a flower, and then you watch it wither and die in a matter of 15 seconds? This is what we're doing. We're looking at the entire period of creation, just like that bud, how everything goes by. You can actually watch 13.77 billion years of God creating everything, or the Big Bang Theory, whatever perspective you want to hold, just like you'd be watching one of those buds. So excuse me if I fast forward to the point that's relevant, which in the creation theory states that it's relevant. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's sequentially in order in the creationist theory. The Bible is in sequential order when it comes to creating things. The only thing is that we don't have some of the science or some of the findings that support a lot of these, because we just haven't gotten there yet. But if you look at how science has evolved over the last century, we've come to know so much so soon, so fast. And now it's time to take a step back and look back at the creation theory and be, Bible was right the whole time. It's insane. And you look at 9.2 billion years pass after the creation. The universe continues to expand, and the very next thing that happens is God creates sky according to creationist perspective. Now you fast forward all the way through the Big Bang Theory until the solar system's created, and the sun's created, and 200 million years after that the Earth is created and all the other planets are created. Pretty much everything in the solar system is about the same age when you're looking at it from the 13.77 billion years. It's about 200 million year difference between some of the planets, even the sun itself. So then you have the very next thing that happens right before God separates the waters from the waters. You have the Theia impact, which gives us our moon, and you have to take that into consideration, because you literally, this is what I'm saying about being analytical about the entire process, right? Take those things and understand how they have the second and third order effects down the road. If it wasn't for the moon impact, there wouldn't be a tilt in the Earth. We wouldn't be spinning the way we're spinning. The days were only 6-hour days after the impact. So you have this big, almost Mars-sized planet, bam, impact the Earth, and then you have all this space debris just floating around this newly formed Earth as everything's cooling down. If you know how gravity works, all these things are clumping together to create this early moon. So you have two very hot, almost like magma balls, or they're circling around each other, and we're spinning 6-hour days, so a quarter of the amount of time that we have nowadays. And take that knowledge and understand that the moon, what we know about the moon today is it has a gravitational tide, right? So it moves entire oceans at its distance today. It was 25 times closer back then. So if it was moving oceans today, imagine what it was moving back then. It was moving this magma. So as it's circling around this with this 25 times closer, with a 25 times stronger gravitational tide, it's warping this magma planet that we have. So you have this big tide of magma just being warped around this early Earth until a couple 100 million years go by, and it increases its distance from the Earth, and it may have been 15 times closer with the 15 times stronger gravitational tide. Whatever it was forming, so the Earth was being smoothed out. The entire surface of the Earth was a constant warping, right, during its spin and its rotation around the Earth. All right, so you have that, and then about 1 billion I want to say about 1 billion years go by, or at least, about 1 billion years go by, and the Earth's surface is being cooled. So what happens is you have all these heavier elements that are within the Earth, like nickel and iron, sink to the bottom. All the gassy elements and the lighter elements, like helium, like oxygen, stuff like that, coming out. So you have those coming out of the surface, and you have the iron and nickel sinking to the bottom. And there's enough heat and pressure in the center of the Earth, the early Earth, even still today, that what was liquid iron and nickel is now solid iron and nickel. It's really hot, and there's this outer layer of the core, the outer core, which is liquid form of nickel and iron, and it's rolling around this. It's almost like making a dynamo effect. And what happens is it creates this geomagnetic field around the Earth. And the beautiful thing about that is, because of that, the solar winds from the sun, or the early Earth is protected from these solar winds from the sun. So if you want to look at the effects of the solar winds, look at Mercury, look at Mars, their entire atmospheres, it acts like a sandblaster on these Earths, and it just blows off the atmosphere and wipes it clean. So you have Mercury, which is a dead planet. Mars is a dead planet. The atmosphere almost does not exist. If it does, it's very minute compared to the one we have today, and it's all because of this geomagnetic field that protects our atmosphere from being blown away. So you have the dynamo effect from all the heavier elements sinking into the core. Then now the Earth has a chance to cool. Earth starts to cool down, and then Genesis 1:6 happens. The Earth cools down enough below 100 degrees Celsius that this water vapor that's being pumped out, because there's a lot of water in the Earth's surface, we know this, and at one point in time it was ice, and then it was melted, and then it turns into steam. It goes from whatever original form it was in, it gets heated up, turned into steam. So the Earth's surface is starting to cool down in this little layer above the surface, and it separates the water vapor from the water. It turns the water into liquid state. So you have the clouds that hold the water, the vapor water, and then you have the liquid state, which is starting to pile up on top of the Earth's surface. What happens after that? The Earth's surface cools enough to start to crack. It's like putting a sourdough bread on a plate or a sheet of metal and then sliding it into an oven, right? The inside of it is still gooey and mushy, and the outside starts to dry, and then you get that little crack up on top. The exact same thing happens with plate tectonics. It pushes these two plates apart because it starts building more land in the middle of these plate tectonic, the crevices between these plate tectonics. So we can still see that today, the immense amount of volcanic activity along these tectonic plates. And what happens is the lava will push up this convection of all the heat and these lighter elements coming out of the Earth's core and trying to reach the outer part of the Earth's surface. It pushes these tectonic plates apart, and more magma is being pushed out along with whatever lighter gas is trying to escape the Earth's, under the Earth's surface. And while these gases escape, but at the same time you have the land being built between these two tectonic plates, and they're slowly being pushed apart, and new land is being created in between there because the magma is being cooled really fast. Now, while these two are being pulled apart, somewhere on the other side of the Earth, two plates are colliding. Bam! And that's where you get these mountain ranges. For example, the Himalayas. The India tectonic plate is colliding northernly into the Asian plate. And that's where we have the highest mountain on the continental surface of the Earth, is because these two plates are colliding. Or you'll have them converge, and they'll dip back down, and they'll be reheated up, and they just get added to the cycle, and these plates just keep reforming. And this happens over a certain period of time and during the creation of the Earth. So we've already explained the creation of the sky, the separation between the waters, and what that would required the temperature to drop below 100 degrees to turn the liquid, the vapor form of water into liquid form of water. That cooled down the Earth's surface, creates these tectonic plates. Tectonic plates crack and get pushed away from each other, and while on the other side of the Earth they collide. So now you're starting to create land, which ironically, according to the creationist theory, land is the very next thing that gets created. Genesis 1:9, God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear." So you have those two tectonic plates colliding and creating this land. Now, while all this is going on, and a lot of this is either simultaneous or it's overlapping each other. And our ability to conceive this, it seems to be difficult. Everybody thinks it happens like that. It doesn't happen like that because there's a lot of it's all a process. Everything that God states in the Bible is a process, and it's a process that's happening within the Big Bang theory that you would rather call it that than exactly what it is. God creating all of this. So you have Genesis 1:9 creates the land, and with all this hyperactivity in the volcano, and we are carbon based. And what happens is when all this volcanic activity is going on, and all of these gases being pumped out of beneath the Earth's surface, carbon is one of those. Carbon is one of those, and it gets into the clouds, and the clouds rains it on this new land. It's called acid rain, or even just the smoke alone. The carbon settles on the land. Now we are carbon based. Everything we know that's alive today is carbon based. It's because of carbon. That's our chemical backbone on Earth is carbon, and it's like the fourth most common thing in the universe. Is the fourth most common thing in our third actually most common thing in our atmosphere is carbon. There's oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. So all this carbon is being planted on this land, and what happens after that? You have the creation of the ozone. So what does the ozone require? Or what is the ozone? What are the effects of the creation of the ozone? The creation of the ozone prevents these UV rays that are getting through our geomagnetic field and hitting the land or the Earth's continental surface and preventing anything from being able to live on land. The ozone prevents the sun from being able to do that. It protects the land and anything on the Earth's surface from being affected by these harmful UV rays that could prevent things from growing and living on Earth. So you have the oxygen that's starting to protect these carbon-based life forms on the land, and bam, you have these carbon-based life forms, and then that growth right there pumps out more oxygen. And so photosynthesis has already happened. Oxygen has already been created in the atmosphere. All of this has already happened, but I'm not discussing it because it's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It is irrelevant. It's just, it's not one of the statements in the sequential order. All of that happens in between the statements. And if it wasn't for that, the next statement wouldn't have happened. And this is why I'm talking about that sequential order. So, and you go into that, and then you have Genesis 1:14, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky and separate the day from the night, and let them serve as the signs to mark the seasons and days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give them light on earth. Now, while all this is happening on our earth, I'm going to step back and look again at everything else that's going on. So everything else is happening simultaneously. While our earth is being created 4.5 billion years ago, 9.2 billion years into the creation of the universe, this is also happening somewhere else. Earth stars are being created. Other anomalies are happening. For instance, two neutron stars colliding and creating elements, heavier elements like gold, uranium, and lead, and they're exploding. And they're pushing these dust particles of these elements out, and these elements are landing in our solar system in the early formation of our solar system. All of this happened simultaneously while all of this is going on. Like, I'm taking back to the microscopic on Earth and everything that's going on Earth. So that's how we got gold on Earth. It's crazy. Gold's not even from Earth because our solar system never had enough heat and pressure to create it. But all of this stuff is going on simultaneously, as you could explain, as I explained. Sorry. So you have the ozone layer created. Plant life is created, pumping oxygen, even more oxygen into the world. You have Genesis 1:20. God said, let the waters abound with living creatures and let the birds fly above the earth and in the open expanse of the sky. Think Cambrian explosion. Think Cambrian explosion to the extinction of the dinosaurs. This is what this period covers. It covers that the very first instance that we can identify that extreme diversity in water life, they abounding with their kinds, and that even the evolution theory identifies that marine life was the first life. And over a period of time, there have single-cell organisms, multi-cell organisms, but now there's complex organisms. There's many types of complex organisms, right? And then you follow that all the way. Almost they're so diverse and so complex that they're starting to crawl up on land, and they're starting to evolve on land. And then you go through the period of the dinosaurs, and even the birds we know today share an ancestor with like T-Rex. They're called the Archosaurs. They share ancestors with them. But funny enough is when they were, well, it's not really funny, but whenever they were wiped out, the only species that were left were the birds, the mammals, some water life, marine life, and then I think like crocodiles, some other ones that really haven't evolved much. But if it wasn't for the extinction of the dinosaurs, this statement would actually include the dinosaurs. Not only that, the mammals wouldn't be given their opportunity to diversify on land because they were being hunted and they were very oppressed by the existence of the dinosaurs. You think about it like that. They were limited to their resources and their abundance. So you look at, from the Cambrian explosion to the extinction of the dinosaurs, you have the sea creatures and you have the birds, right? The very next thing that the very next Bible verse, and these are some of these, again, they overlap. Our concept of time, it's a man construct. We created it, so you have to see how it fits together. God creates land animals of kinds. So Genesis 1:24, God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds," and it was so. So you have the extinction of the dinosaurs, you have the birds, and you have the water, and then now it's time for the mammals to start to diversify. There's land creatures, these livestock and beasts of the earth. Creeping things are the insects. We know the lineage of the insects. They've been here since the dinosaurs, but they start to diversify now that the dinosaurs are gone. It's like they explode. Boom. They have all kinds of diversity. And again, this is over millions of years. Millions of years. Going back to that video I was telling you about the bud and the flower, we're watching a few seconds within that time span. So the mammals diversify, and then what happens? The lineage of the beasts of the field, or the apes. The apes start to diversify. Now about 200,000 years ago, that's when our lineage comes into play, the Homo sapiens. Genesis 1:26, then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. Is that not